The Library of Alexandria. The Library of Alexandria, founded in the 3rd century BCE in Egypt, this wasn't just a library. It was the ancient world's Wikipedia, Google, and university rolled into one. It housed anywhere from 400,000 to 700,000 scrolls containing the accumulated knowledge of Greek, Egyptian, Persian, and Indian civilizations. Here's what we lost. Original manuscripts from Aristotle, the complete works of dozens of Greek dramatists we only know by name, advanced mathematical treatises, medical texts that wouldn't be rediscovered for 1,000 years, maps of the known world. The blunder wasn't a single event, but a series of catastrophic decisions over centuries. Fires during Julius Caesar's siege, Christian zealotry against pagan texts, and Muslim conquest that allegedly used the scrolls as fuel. The real mistake? No one thought to create backup copies in other cities. No redundancy system, no preservation protocol, just one centralized repository of human knowledge waiting to burn. Historians estimate this single loss set human progress back by centuries. We essentially had to reinvent mathematics, astronomy, and medicine from scratch during the Middle Ages. Napoleon's invasion of Russia. In 1812, Napoleon Bonaparte, master tactician and conqueror of Europe, makes a decision that would destroy his empire, invading Russia with 600,000 men, the largest army ever assembled at that time. The mistake wasn't the invasion itself. It was underestimating the Russian strategy. The Russians employed what they called scorched earth. As they retreated, they burned everything: crops, villages, entire cities. Moscow itself was set ablaze. Napoleon kept winning battles but couldn't force Russia to surrender. There was nothing to conquer, nothing to eat, nowhere warm to sleep. Then came General Winter. Napoleon's supply line stretched over 1,000 miles. His horses died, his men starved, the temperature dropped to minus 30 degrees Celsius, soldiers froze to death while marching. Of the 600,000 who entered Russia, only 100,000 made it back to France. Napoleon's aura of invincibility shattered. Within 3 years, he'd be exiled to Elba, his empire in ruins. The lesson? Logistics matter more than tactics. Victory means nothing if your army can't eat. The sale of Alaska. In 1867, Russia was broke, overstretched, and paranoid that Britain would seize Alaska during the next war. So Russian Tsar Alexander II made what seemed like a pragmatic decision: sell the territory to the United States for $7.2 million, roughly 2 cents per acre. American critics called it Seward's folly after Secretary of State William Seward, who negotiated the deal. They thought they bought a frozen, worthless wasteland inhabited only by polar bears and indigenous peoples. They were catastrophically wrong. Within 30 years, prospectors discovered massive gold deposits in the Klondike. By the 1960s, they found one of the world's largest oil reserves in Prudhoe Bay. Billions upon billions of barrels. Today, Alaska generates over $50 billion annually for the U.S. economy through oil alone, not counting military strategic value, fishing rights, and mineral wealth. Russia essentially handed over a fortune because they couldn't see past the immediate financial pressure. It's the equivalent of selling a lottery ticket because you need $5 for lunch, then watching it win the jackpot. Financial desperation plus lack of long-term thinking equals a blunder that echoes 150 years later. Archduke Franz, Ferdinand's wrong turn. June 28, 1914. Sarajevo, Bosnia. Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, is visiting the city. Earlier that day, a Serbian nationalist threw a grenade at his motorcade. It missed, injuring others instead. Most people would go home. The Archduke decided to visit the wounded in the hospital. Here's where the blunder happens. His driver, Leopold Loka, took a wrong turn down Franz Joseph Street. When he realized the mistake, he stopped the car and began reversing. At that exact moment, pure coincidence put them directly in front of a delicatessen where one of the failed assassins, Gavrilo Princip, was standing, probably grabbing lunch after giving up on the mission. Princip couldn't believe his luck. He stepped forward and fired 2 shots. One hit the Archduke, the other hit his wife Sophie. Both died within the hour. That wrong turn triggered a domino effect. Austria-Hungary blamed Serbia, issued an ultimatum, declared war. Russia mobilized to defend Serbia. Germany declared war on Russia. France got pulled in. Germany invaded Belgium, bringing in Britain. Within weeks, all of Europe was at war. 4 years later, 20 million dead, empires collapsed, maps redrawn, and the seeds planted for World War II. 1 5-second navigation error. 20 million lives. That's how fragile history is. The Challenger disaster. January 28, 1986. Millions of Americans, including school children, tune in to watch the Space Shuttle Challenger launch. Aboard is Krista McAuliffe, a teacher about to become the first civilian in space. 73 seconds after liftoff, the shuttle explodes. All 7 crew members die instantly. The cause? A rubber O-ring seal in one of the solid rocket boosters failed due to cold temperatures. But here's the real blunder. The engineers knew. The night before launch, engineers at Morton Thiokol, the company that built the boosters, recommended postponing. They had data showing O-rings became brittle in cold weather. The forecast for launch day was near freezing, well, outside safe parameters. But NASA managers, under political pressure to maintain schedule and with members of Congress and the press watching, overruled them. They wanted the PR win. They wanted the teacher in space story. They didn't want another delay. So they launched, anyway. The Rogers Commission investigation later revealed a pattern. Organizational culture that normalized deviance, ignored warnings, and prioritized schedule over safety. Engineers had raised red flags for years about O-ring erosion. Management dismissed the concerns as acceptable risk. 7 people died because bureaucracy and public relations were valued over engineering expertise. The cost of ignoring experts? Incalculable. The lesson: when the people who built the machine say don't push the button, don't push the button. Kodak and the digital camera. In 1975, a Kodak engineer named Steve Sasson invents the first digital camera. It's crude, the size of a toaster, shoots black and white at 0.01 megapixels. Takes 23 seconds to save an image to cassette tape. But it works. It's revolutionary. It's the future. Kodak's response? They buried it. Literally shelved the technology. Why? Because their entire business model was built on film. They made billions selling rolls of film and the chemicals to develop them. Digital cameras would cannibalize that revenue stream. So they made a calculated decision. Protect the present, ignore the future. For 2 decades, Kodak sat on digital technology while competitors like Sony, Canon, and Nikon invested heavily. By the time Kodak finally pivoted to digital in the 2000s, it was too late. They'd lost market share, brand dominance, and the technical lead. In 2012, Kodak filed for bankruptcy. Think about that. Kodak invented the technology that killed them, and then chose not to use it. They had a 20-year head start and squandered it entirely. It's like inventing the car and deciding to stick with horses because you own a saddle factory. The lesson here is brutal. Disruption is coming, whether you like it or not. You can either disrupt yourself and survive, or let someone else disrupt you and die. Kodak chose death. The Mongol Envoys. 13th century. Genghis Khan, ruler of the Mongol Empire, sends a trade delegation to the Khwarezmian Empire in Central Asia. It's a diplomatic mission. Trade, peace, mutual benefit. Pretty straightforward. The governor of the border city of Otrar decides these Mongols are spies. So he executes the entire delegation and seizes their goods. When Genghis Khan hears about this, he does what any reasonable empire builder would do. He sends another delegation asking for the governor to be punished and for an apology. The Khwarezmian Shah's response? He kills the lead ambassador and sends the others back with their beards shaved, the ultimate insult in that culture. Genghis Khan's response? Total war. He personally led 100,000 to 150,000 Mongol warriors into Khwarezm. They systematically destroyed every major city. They killed nearly 2 million people. They wiped the Khwarezmian Empire off the map so thoroughly that modern historians struggle to find archaeological evidence of some cities. One governor's paranoia plus one Shah's pride equals the complete annihilation of an empire. The lesson? When the most powerful military force on earth sends you a peace offering, maybe don't murder the messenger. The Maginot Line. After World War I devastated France, the French government decided never again. They would build an impenetrable defensive fortification along the German border. From 1930 to 1940, they constructed the Maginot Line, a system of concrete fortresses, obstacles, bunkers, and artillery. It was state-of-the-art, heavily manned, virtually impregnable. In 1940, when Germany invaded, they simply went around it. They drove through Belgium and the Ardennes forest, terrain the French considered impassable for tanks. Within 6 weeks, France surrendered. The blunder wasn't the engineering, it was the strategic thinking. French military leadership fought World War II with World War I tactics. They built fortifications for trench warfare, not mobile tank warfare. They prepared for the last war, not the next one. Germany, meanwhile, developed blitzkrieg, fast-moving combined arms tactics using tanks, aircraft, and motorized infantry. Speed, flexibility, surprise, the exact opposite of static defense. France spent billions on fortifications and got flanked anyway. It's a metaphor for life. Preparing for yesterday's problems won't save you from tomorrow's. Adaptability beats preparation. The world changes, and your strategies must change with it. The Titanic's design flaws. April 14, 1912. The RMS Titanic, proclaimed unsinkable, strikes an iceberg on its maiden voyage. Within 3 hours, it's at the bottom of the Atlantic. Over 1,500 people die. Everyone knows the story, but here's the blunder chain. First, the ship carried only 20 lifeboats, enough for 1,178 people on a ship carrying over 2,200. Why? Regulations were outdated, and more lifeboats would clutter the first-class deck. Aesthetics over safety. Second, the watertight compartments that were supposed to make it unsinkable only went up part way. Water could, and did, spill from one compartment to the next, flooding the ship progressively. It was like a watertight ice cube tray that isn't actually watertight. Third, the ship was traveling at near maximum speed through an ice field because the captain wanted to arrive early and make headlines. Pride and schedule pressure. Fourth, nearby ship Californians saw the distress rockets but thought they were party fireworks. Communication failure. One disaster, 4 compounding blunders, and 1,500 people paid the price for a ship that was designed to look unsinkable rather than actually be unsinkable. The Trojan Horse. After 10 years of siege warfare, the Greeks appear to give up. They sail away, leaving behind a giant wooden horse as a supposed offering to the gods. The Trojans, celebrating victory, debate what to do. Priest Laocoon warns them, "I fear Greeks even when they bring gifts." But the Trojans, drunk on victory and tired of war, ignore him. They drag the horse inside the city walls. That night, Greek soldiers hidden inside the horse emerge, open the city gates, and let in the army that had been hiding nearby. Troy burns. Its people are killed or enslaved. A 1,000-year civilization ends because they accepted a suspicious gift without checking inside. It's the original cautionary tale about being too trusting, about letting victory make you careless, about not listening to the skeptic in the room. And it's been retold for 3,000 years because people keep making the same mistake, just with different horses. 10 blunders, millions of lives altered, empires destroyed, fortunes lost, progress delayed by centuries. The pattern is clear. Pride, short-term thinking, ignoring experts, and failure to adapt are the recurring ingredients in history's biggest disasters. The good news? We can learn from these mistakes without having to make them ourselves. That's the point of studying history, not to memorize dates, but to recognize patterns before they repeat. If you like this video, subscribe for similar ones, or leave a comment to suggest another.